Welcome to Grindhouse Funhouse 31 Days of Horror. Tonight's spooky pick, Pieces. What a gruesome, silly slasher film this is. It's very straightforward, run-of-the-mill, especially for an early 80s slasher, but the way it was conceived, most of it is absurd, campy fun that was unintentional, I think. I want to concentrate on a few moments that makes this film what it is. The opening scene, a 10-year-old boy putting together a jigsaw puzzle of a naked woman, and his mom getting all hysterical on him, slaps him around. Obviously, the only solution to that was that kid getting an axe and chopping her to pieces. We can all agree on that. I love this particular shot of her head in the closet from real to fake. We get a 40 years time jump and we're still in Boston, this time on a college campus. And oh no! I thought I was watching an 80s action movie there for a second. Then, in broad daylight, on campus, the killer chops the head of a student and takes the head back home with him. Then we get Lieutenant Bracken, played by Christopher George, and Sergeant Holden, played by Frank Brana, on the case. That will turn this movie into an exciting procedural drama. Nah, I'm kidding, they're barely adequate members of the police department.
Have you ever been laid on a waterbed?
The most beautiful thing in the world is smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed at the same time.
Finally, the truth can be told. That groundskeeper sure loves his chainsaw. Willard is his name and the most obvious red herring in all the history of movies. This guy looks way too shifty. I love his eye acting. He begs us to believe him that he's the one who did it. He's so awesome. I could watch him do that shifty look on a loop for hours. The pool scene. First of all, this is a beautiful pool. It brought me back to when I would go to my high school pool alone and just skinny dip away. While she enjoys her swim, we see the killer enter, and when you see him come in, is she blind on one side? What's going on? She gets cornered by him, but the pool is right next to her, so why not just jump in and swim away? Unless she wanted to die. The cops are on the scene, and they ask the anatomy professor, who's on the suspects list by the way, this very hard-hitting question.
Could that have been done with a chainsaw? Like that one over there?
Even a layman could see it was done with this. I'd say it's elementary.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I'm a layman and I concur. I'll admit that I had to think about it for a bit though. Early 80s aerobic dance sequence? You got it. Will the teacher, as she leaves the school at the end of her day, will be pursued by the killer and cut into pieces? You better believe it. And will she willingly enter an elevator with him while he's holding a damn chainsaw? Yep, she certainly will do that too. Look at that beautiful suspect shot. Who could it be? The cops asked this student Kendall, who was supposed to meet the girl in the pool earlier, for his help on the case, so he becomes some sort of de facto cop, which is absurd in and of itself, and is there for pretty much the rest of the movie, being there, eyes and ears, and always be there at all the right moments. Lieutenant Bracken asked a woman lady cop, a former tennis pro, to go undercover at the college as a tennis coach. She's played by Christopher George's wife, Linda Day George, which, by the way, she's a terrible tennis player.
Oh, Kendall!
You want us thrown out? Boy, anyone would think you were in bed with Chainsaw Charlie.
Oh, Kendall, you Adonis, you. Also, some random male nudity I was not expecting to see. Undercover lady cop walks around at night on the campus, flashlight in hand. What is she looking for? Who the hell knows, but suddenly she gets attacked. Because what Pieces needed at this very moment was some kung fu action. By the way, the one doing the kung fu is Bruce Lee, famous for being one of the many Bruce Lee clones, part of the Bruceploitation genre of the 70s. Pieces producer Dick Randall was making kung fu movies at the time with Bruce Lee, hence why we're getting this cameo here. If you're interested to learn more about Bruceploitation, there's a new documentary that will be out soon titled Enter the Clones of Bruce that dives deep into this genre, and I've made a video about it. Link in the description. Alright, back to Pieces. Obviously, that scene made no sense whatsoever. We find out he's Kendall's kung fu instructor.
Oh, I am out jogging, and next thing I know, I am on ground. Something I eat. Bad chop suey. So long.
Take it easy.
Bad chop suey. Alright, now get on my motocross bike and I'm riding on campus at night, and let me bring you back home. A lady reporter who talked to Bracken earlier wanting to find out what's going on, snoops around the campus, the killer is on her trail, and yes, her too will get chopped up, inexplicably dying on a waterbed that just so happens to be there. Sadly, she didn't get the pleasure of being high while on it. Yet another girl gets chopped up, and the scene everyone knows from this movie that I will play from beginning to end because it is a glorious piece of acting from Mrs. George.
Yes! While we were out here fumbling with that music, the lousy bastard was in there killing her! Bastard! Bastard! Bastard!
Through advanced police investigating techniques, and by that I mean Sergeant Holden makes a phone call to discover who the killer is, and the guy on the other end will get such a nice reward for his help.
Yeah, that's the guy. Are you sure? Could you get that information put on the wire right away? I appreciate it. I'll send you a case of lollipops.
We go to the killer's apartment, they deal with him, and then we're treated to two endings in quick successions. One being they find the stitched up lady corpse of all the body parts the killer had been collecting to complete his puzzle. And then that lady corpse wakes up, apparently a zombie now, and then our boy Kendall gets his junk ripped out and can no longer satisfy all the women that were after him on campus. What a shame. There's even more wacky things happening in Pieces that I will leave for you to discover that will be as delightful as what I just showed you. As a mix of body horror, a splatter film, and a giallo, Pieces couldn't have turned out any better. Was director Juan Piquer Simón in on the fun? Was he self-aware, or was he dead serious about it all? Unless he spoke about it and confirmed either or, it's still fun to think about. Another aspect I'm wondering about in the way his movies were made and how it affects how they turned out, like the movie Slugs he did a few years later and I reviewed earlier in this challenge, where it's a mix of American and Spanish actors working together. Some are dubbed, some are not. The quality of the acting veers off in all kinds of directions. A lot of what's going on or the way it's interpreted seems maybe lost in translation between all these performers, which is why it ends up being such odd movies. That's my theory. One thing that Pieces did very well is the gore. It is pretty gruesome. If you're watching it strictly for that, then the tagline on the poster, "It's exactly what you think it is possibly one of the best taglines ever. Not very kind towards women in Pieces, but what early 80s slasher was. Recreating a jigsaw puzzle out of women's body parts is pretty out there even for those kinds of movies. But it's very entertaining. There's not one dull moment to be had here. A top-tier slasher and a trashterpiece of the highest order. I very much recommend Pieces. Links to streaming or purchasing Pieces are available in the description below. Let me know your thoughts on Pieces and come back tomorrow for another 31 Days of Horror Spooky Pig.